man that God has shown great mercy. Hey, Elroy has buttered my bread. I have so many testimonies, but I'm going to just, cut it short. First, I came across one video online of Papa where he prophesied and said, in your next birthday, you would have been in your evidence.
I don't know who the Lord said I should speak to. By your next birthday, you will already be in your evidence.
Today is my birthday and I am already in my evidence. Look at me, a single mom of 6. God blessed me with a man, a husband that fears God, a man of God. How did it start? It started this January when we started our fast. I was praying, believing God. There was a sister of mine who was with me at my low moment. I was like, how else will I reward this person if not to connect her to the altar? I remember the first time I connected her to the altar, she came and she was like, oh, Chama, the prayer, in fact, is too much. In fact, it's too lengthy. How can she? We are busy, we are at work, we are this. I told her, sis, calm down, follow, listen, pray. Then we started hearing testimonies of people 6 months, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, they are getting married. I told her, do you believe? Married this year, same month. Let me continue with mine. So it all started in January during the fast. I remember one Sunday, because I usually join NSPPD. I join the morning prayers. I also join the Sunday service. So one Sunday service, a woman shared a testimony. And during her testimony, she was like, what she passed through in her, former relationship. At this time, she prayed and said, God, you will give me a tall, dark black man. And she said, I'm going to enjoy the wealth, I'm going to enjoy the money of my husband. And she said the man that God gave her is tall, dark, handsome man. And she was, after sharing that testimony, when Papa was preaching, he was like, look at you, some of you, when you come every time, I want a tall, dark, black, a handsome man. He said, won't you start desiring Caucasian? Start desiring white.
Some of you, it's only black men you have been imagining in your prayer. Open up your heart. White brothers. Caucasian brothers.
In fact, I started speaking in tongues. I said, God, I desire it. I prayed. And you know what? My husband showed up that same January. At some point, there was a time I decided, let me just commit suicide and let things go. But God showed me mercy. Through the prayer in the altar, God showed me mercy. God showed me mercy. I was also watching, testimony one day, and the woman said how she moved to Abuja. She located to Abuja. She had only 40,000 in her account. It was so bad for her. But today that God has blessed her in Abuja, she owns house, she have her own car and all that. I said, I keyed into that. I said, God, I moved into Texas. I located to Texas, indebted. Father, in the next few years, this is how I will share my testimony, that I am debt free. The Lord has remembered me and restored me. God has done it. Today I am debt free. My children are doing so well in their studies, having their scholarships, going to school to the glory of God. And I had a business. Look at me, that had nothing. That was like, I lost it at some point. I lost everything. But today, God has given me 2 businesses. As I asked God, 3. As I asked God, I have a school in Equatorial Guinea. At some point, it was struggle. But this year, part of my prayer point, I said, God, if you help our number to reached 100, said, I will shout, Elroy. Elroy has buttered my bread. And to the glory of God, this September, we passed 100 to the glory of God. I started a school in Enugu this same year, and Elroy has blessed it. God has restored me. Elroy has remembered me. Elroy has buttered my bread. Elroy, the God that sees me. Pastor Jerry, God bless you. Look at me. I would have been a dead person, but God used the altar to save me, to restore me. And now I can smile again. What God cannot do does not exist.
They checked my organs, they ran some tests. My kidney was failing, my leg was swollen, my eye was swollen, my face was swollen, my lips were cracked, my fingers were swollen, I was macheting, my hair was cut. My name is Emeka Jedima and I'm making this testimony from Enugu State. We joined NSPPD in the year 2021. May 2022, I got admission to study in the university. Halfway through the first semester period, I had a headache, constant headache. I wouldn't go with any paracetamol or any painkiller. So I managed the headache till 7th July. I decided to run some tests and treat myself properly. Tests came out with malaria and typhoid. I took injections for like 3 days. So after the injections, I didn't get better. I became sick of the malaria. Went to different hospitals to treat different things, gave me different injections, gave me different medicines and all this. But I wasn't getting better. I was actually getting worse because nobody knew exactly what was wrong with me. Apparently, it was not malaria. So we went to a particular hospital, me telling him what were my symptoms. At that point, my leg was swollen, my eye was swollen, my face was swollen, my lips were cracked, my fingers were swollen, everywhere was just swollen. And on top of that, I was macheting. My hair was cut. Then, as we went to the hospital, I couldn't still take that food. I couldn't stay. I just vomited it out. They diagnosed me with malaria in the bone marrow. Started treating it for 6 days. Treated it. Then, but I wasn't getting better. It was actually getting worse. They checked my organs. They ran some tests on me to check how my organs are doing. Then, at that point, I think my kidney was failing because nobody actually told me what was going on. So we went to General Hospital in the morning. We met another doctor, told us, because they referred me to the hospital for dialysis. Told me that this isn't dialysis, neither is it anything. This is an autoimmune disease, lupus. 20th January 2023, Pastor Jerry declared lupus.
I hear lupus. I hear lupus. If you are the one, put it on the live stream right now. I command lupus disappear by fire.
So everybody, all keyed in to eat for me, kidney to eat, and from then been getting a very miraculous healing. But at that point, I didn't have eyebrows, but now I have eyebrows, I have eyelashes, I have hairs on my head. My fingers are not swollen, my lips are not swollen, my face are not swollen anymore. So I have recovered fully with myself. I can walk, I can stand, I can jump up, I can run. Nothing. I can do anything with my legs. My legs are not swollen. So I was now recovering. New skins are now coming into me. Before, my legs were so cracked. It was cracked from my knees down. It was all cracked. Now everything is now the same color. I want to say thank you, Elroy, for what he has done for me. I'm actually a living testimony of what Elroy can do. Thank you, Pastor Jerry, for coming every morning to actually preach and actually pray for us all that you don't know. Thank you so much.
December last year marked 5th miscarriage that I've had. I was really in a bad place. I was not in a good place at all. I remember on the last day of 2024, after NSPPD that day, I was really overwhelmed because the last miscarriage I had was during the festive season last year. And I was telling my husband that, you know what, I'm done. I can't go through this again. If I go through another loss, I think my enemy might run mad. And he was like, oh, don't you have faith? Just calm down. And I remember telling him that, okay, let's try surrogacy. I said, people do it. And I remember that I was hearing a voice in my mind that do not lean on your own understanding. And, I kept arguing with him, but the voice was loud, do not lean on your own understanding. So I came to the night service that day with a very bitter heart. I remember going to the toilet crying, I'll come back to the service. But I was really expectant of what thing. That was the theme of 2025. I don't know why, but I was expectant. And Pastor Jerry came and he said, oh, this year we are running with Eroi again.
People of God, welcome to 2025. Streams of joy, NSPPDs, welcome to 2025. Our second year of Eroi, the God that sees me. Eroi.
Because I remember that day, it was as if the devil was poking me like, oh, you had a lot of losses in 2024. What is going to happen in 2025? And when Pastor Jerry came, he said, we are running with Eroi again. And he said, this is for those that think Eroi did not see them in 2024. So I held on to that word. And when he was preaching, he said, oh, this year you have a baby and it shall be called God Hears.
You're going to carry a baby in 2025. The name of your baby will be called God Hears.
I held on to that one too. 2nd of January, Pastor Jerry was praying on NSPPD and he said, that wickedness is reversed. This year there shall be no miscarriage.
By the power that raises from the dead, this wickedness, I announce, let it be reversed. That woman hear the word of the Lord. There will be no miscarriage this year.
I downloaded that clip and I was always praying with it. 21 days fasting started and I said, oh, I'm going to join. And I remember that I had 3 significant dreams in that 21 days. The first one, I remember that I was in the church, I was on my knees and I was praying to God that God, have mercy on me. I've had 5 miscarriages, have mercy on me. And then 2 men came. One was asking, how long has she been here? I remember standing up in that dream and said, no, this is not my first time here. I've been praying to God. I've had 5 miscarriages. I can't go through this again. Then the next thing, I found myself in front of a baby, a newborn baby. The other guy was standing in front of me and he said, oh, the baby is dead. I remember shouting, Eroi. I kept praying, Eroi, Eroi. I was crying in that dream. I said, Eroi, I can't have another loss. And then they tapped me and said, the baby lives. And they gave me the baby. I remember dancing in that dream and I woke up. I was happy. I was dancing. The second dream, like 2 days after, during that 21 days, myself and my husband were going. These 2 men, they appeared. They gave me a baby. It was a baby boy. The first one too, it was a baby boy. I carried him and we were dancing. We were happy. During all this period, the fertility clinic was also doing their investigation. What is causing these miscarriages? And remember, they said, oh, I should come for tests and all, and they were like, oh, come again in February. And I remember telling them that by February I'll be pregnant. I just left. The last day of fasting and prayer in this year, that 21 days, I remember Pastor Jerry was praying and was saying, God, let it show that I've met with you.
Eroi, by your mercy, at these 21 days, let there be an evidence that your people met with you. Abba, let it show. Abba, let it show. Abba, let there be an evidence that your people met with you.
I remember kneeling down and crying to God that God, let it show that I've met with you. By February, truly, I was pregnant. So I checked and it was positive. And then we kept going. I was scared through the journey, especially that first few weeks, because none of this pregnancy lasted first trimester. I kept going. They were like, oh, come. Then they said, oh, we can see a sac. Trust me, brethren, I've never gone to the hospital without spotting. That was the first time I would go to the hospital without spotting, no bleeding. They said, come in 2 weeks. They were like, oh, let's check for heartbeat. Then they said, oh, there's heartbeat. That was how the journey started. Brethren, I passed through first trimester. It was amazing. Eroi came through for me. On the day of delivery, Eroi came through. I came out, my baby came out safely and sound. And I'm here to testify that God did it. Eroi truly did it. Because if I went through my imagination last year, I didn't know this year would end like this. I thought maybe this year would be another story, but Eroi changed the story. I'm here to say what God cannot do.
My husband was diagnosed with cancer, terminal stage, neuroendocrine cancer on August. First of all, it started with a heart problem. I was at work. They called me. They rushed him to heart hospital. They said they want to do an open heart surgery. I said, what's going on? He was bleeding. They didn't know what to do. The heart doctor, so many team were coming with different negative testimony. And then one doctor came and said, let's wait. Something is going on. This man is bleeding. We can't operate on him. Let's find the source of the bleeding. They said they're going to do GI, colonoscopy. Cardiologist said, no, I'm not going to do that. His heart cannot carry it. They said, but we can't operate. He's bleeding, even though we're going to open up the heart. We have to place him on blood thinner. So much confusion. So they decided to do GI, endoscopy and colonoscopy. They did it, and behold, doctor was like, wow, they've not seen this thing before. Prior before then, he died on the operating because they gave him general anesthesia. I couldn't wake up. I said, God, I don't understand. I'm a Christian, but this one is too much. I'm also a nurse. I'm looking at the signs. Everything is not even working. The eye doctor looked at me. It was just like hopeless. I looked at him. I said, what do you think? You are a professional. You have been doing this for so long. He said, well, with all of this I'm seeing, I'm very sure it's cancer. I said, okay. They took the biopsies. They took it, everything. The result came out. Behold, they consulted with the oncologist, the surgeon. We're going to operate on him. He went home. Not before one week, my husband collapsed and rushed him back again. Then they said, he's bleeding too much. This bleeding is too much because it was like blood transfusion, like water. More than 50 pints of blood. Like they transfused him the next day to go back to 3.4. They were like, what's going on? So they now said to hold on. They're not going to do surgery again. They now consult him to an oncologist again. They now ordered a PET scan, all different kind of scan. He kept doing scan. They did another one. I said, what are people doing this kind of test? They said, we want to do 24 hours urine test, blood test. We want to know the neural cancer markers. I was like, God, what is going on? The third one they did, the doctor came and looked at it. He said, Stella, it has spread everywhere. I said, how? It was diagnosed last week. Now it's everywhere. He said, yes. He said, this kind of tumor is a very rare form of tumor. It's neuroendocrine tumor. It occurs in 1 in 100,000. That they don't know how to treat it. I said, wow, of all the cancer, this one. I looked at my husband. He looked at me. He said, if that's what... I said, no, God will not want that. I refused it for you. I went to the central unit, so I came. I cleaned, I cried, I wept. I sowed seed. I started playing Pastor Jerry's clips. My mother too also joined me in prayer. Whenever I come here, I feel kind of joy. I will clean. I'll say, God, clean this neural cancer away. Clean these cancer cells away. Even at work, my manager will look at me. He was like, how are you holding on? I said, no, don't pity me, please. This is not my case. Don't pity me. My husband is doing well. You know, I'll tell, why are you hugging me? Why are you telling me sorry? Don't tell me sorry. My case is different. During that period, I don't know if it's August or September, but they were doing this conference in London, Pastor Jerry. So my sister called me. I said, go for me. I cannot go now. During that conference, Pastor Jerry mentioned that anything you came with 2 months, anything, today is ended.
Wherever you are in this room, whether it's a tumor, whether it's a growth, whether it's a paralysis, whether it's a loved one you left in the house, the devil is a liar. I command, let them be reversed right now.
My sister was praying. My sister put the picture on the altar. Me, myself, I was there cleaning. I was praying too. I think in the month of October, I remember precisely, I was at work. My sister screenshot it for me. She was at London. She said, they mentioned your case. Pastor Joey mentioned your case. Neuroendocrine cancer be reversed.
Neuroendocrine cancer. Neuroendocrine cancer. Neuroendocrine cancer. And the devil is a lie. I announce, let it be reversed.
It was mentioned on Friday. It was mentioned on Monday. I screamed. I danced. Even when I came to see my husband, the nurse was like, what's wrong with this one? Is she crazy? Can't she see the result? And she said she's a nurse. Why is she behaving like this? I said, my husband is healed. All of a sudden, my husband started eating, started doing things, They're like, is he pooping? I said, yes, he's pooping. Is he throwing up? I said, no nausea. Is he in pain? I said, no pain. They're like, okay. So to cut long story short, I didn't know that God has done it on the 11th of November. Because every time they did another PET scan, the result came and the doctor traveled for Thanksgiving. He didn't tell me. So I was so scared. I didn't want to look at the results. I said, it's raining. We'll come next week. I kept giving excuses. So this Monday we went. The doctor was like, you don't need to take chemo. You don't need it.